Welcome everyone to today's episode of Life in HD, where we invite special guests to come in and chat with us about human design lived in real life. And if you're new to this channel, I'm your host, Crystal Alferrero. I'm a human design guide and founder of the Human Design Academy. And today we are going to be talking about fear gates in human design and working through fears. And we're going to dive in also to the chart of our very special guest here, Karen Galway, who's a 6'3" emotional manifesting generator and energetic embodiment coach. Welcome, Karen. So happy to have you here. How are you?
Thank you. Thank you. I'm so excited. I'm really good. Despite, I have a cast on right now and I'm like sitting in my bed, but I'm doing good. I'm so excited for this.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I know. That's quite a journey. And I mean, you are 6'3". Of course, this is going to throw some spontaneity your way.
For sure. And I've already learned my lesson from it. So we're ready to go. I'm ready to move forward.
Awesome. And so for everyone listening, I'd love if you could introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I actually am Canadian as well, just like you. I grew up in Newfoundland, Canada, and I had a very linear path planned out for myself. And, it's one of those things where you ask kids, what do you want to be when you grew up? I knew exactly what I wanted to be when I was 13. And it was one of those things where is it incredible how Karen knows what she wants to be? And it became something I was known for.
Can I ask what it was?
Well, it was a speech therapist. It was
okay.
being a speech therapist. And so I came to the US for my master's degree in speech therapy. I pursued it. And there was one day I was at a seminar course and I happened to be sitting next to a woman, another speech therapist, who was talking about energy healing that her son was going through. Anyways, that literally was where there was a little break in my path of I love speech therapy, but well, wait a minute. Now I'm so curious. And it led me to, energy. We all know with energy work, it's just such a huge, it's a huge rabbit hole in itself and so many different types of energy work, but it ultimately led me to human design eventually. And I, like I said, was having in my mind a very linear path of where I was going. And then one day I'm I actually really love coaching. I love being able to, and I'm really good at it. I love being able to help people see a bird's eye view on things and help them reframe and start rewriting the story that they've been telling themselves. And I felt very stuck because I didn't know, am I a speech therapist or am I a coach? Where am I going? I've had this plan in my life and it's not a plan anymore. I don't know what's going on. And so I had a human design reading to help me more so give me clarity on how to run a business from a human design perspective. And it was within that reading, I was oh, I don't have to pick a lane. I'm a manifesting generator and I'm a 631 at that. I have a huge sampling aura and I don't have to pick a lane. I can just kind of figure things out and flow and then see and that was such a huge weight lifted off my shoulders when I discovered that. And that ultimately led me to you and your program. And so now I incorporate human design in my coaching. I think it's such an amazing tool to bring awareness. More I love it as that awareness factor. And then I pull in other tools to help with that transformation.
Yes. And I'm excited to ask you more about that, especially as we go into fears and how you work with your clients.
Yeah.
Using human design and bringing that awareness, right? But before we dive into there, I guess I want to know a little bit more around whether you've learned something new about yourself through human design that you didn't know about yourself before, or maybe something that, human design kind of shone a flashlight.
Yeah.
On.
Oh my gosh. So many aspects, so many. Well, I have, being a manifesting generator in itself was a huge shift. Being able to even understand that I'm an emotional manifesting generator. So I've always would say that FOMO was so real for me. And I would always say yes, but because I want to do something. And then the time would come and I'm oh, I don't want to do it. Why did I say yes? And then understanding how that decision maker factor worked for me, using that emotional authority brought so much clarity and peace to my life. So that was a huge part. Just recognizing that I don't, again, have to pick a lane. Like if I'm like one day doing speech therapy and another day doing coaching, and to the person outside looking at me might be like, what are you doing? You're all over the place. To me, it feels like I'm really listening to where I'm going, and it's unfolding the way that it needs to unfold. And I don't know if speech therapy will always be there for me. And I'm not making it mean anything, but I'm allowing myself to explore. And even recognizing that I do have such a huge sampling aura has, again, given me so much permission to explore and not necessarily have to have everything figured out, which is what I thought I always had, right? I also have the channel that connects and I can't remember the name of the channel, but that connects my throat chakra, or my my throat center to my solar plexus.
Yeah. Channel of openness. Yeah.
Yes. And that was like, when I found that out, I'm like, oh my gosh, this makes so much sense. Because I've always been someone who enjoyed talking, and not necessarily talking for the sake of talking, but like, I have to let you know how I'm feeling about this, because if not, I'm going to explode. And often people would say to me, I can't believe you did that. I can't believe you said that. I can't believe you told that person that. And there was just this awareness of like, oh, this is why, like, I've always felt this need to talk, and why when I'm talking about something meaningful, I've often heard people say, I can hang on to every single word that you're saying. And it's that emotional piece that I'm bringing in through my solar plexus that's connecting to my voice that resonates with other people. And I've never been able to, I guess because I was such a talker, like my nickname in like junior high was motor mouth. Like I literally was, I love to talk. I shamed myself for it. Right? Like, why did I ruin that? Or why am I talking so much? Why did I say that to that person? How come I can't be quiet? And the thing about human design that I freaking love is that there's nothing wrong with you, right? Like it's just your interpretation or your conditioning or programming behind that based on other people's perceptions of it.
Yeah.
And so it allowed me to accept that this is a gift, and it's a huge gift that I have. To be able to express my emotions, but also be able to connect with people through my voice. And so that was like a big part as well. I also have a defined head center, which it's pretty rare. I feel like it's not as common.
Yep. 30%
Yeah.
of the population.
And so I'm always like, whenever I do any personality tests, what comes up as one of my strengths is ideation. And so I'm like, oh, well, that makes sense too. And like being able to come up with like an idea or a question and find an answer and just go back and forth between it, but then executing it and bringing it to fruition is something that I have struggled with. And I'm like, oh, well, that connection to my throat center, again, that makes sense. And what I tell people when I do human design readings, and even for myself, is I'm even within my speech therapy practice, I'm not a big fan of labels. I don't like slapping a label on it and being like, there you go, that's what you are. And so I caution people, like, when you find out that this is your design, you need to really understand the depth of who you are and the depth that this chart gives you, and not just stop at your design type. And then use that as a reason why you can or can't do something, because it's limiting you. Yeah. And so it just gave me so much freedom into just like into playing around with certain things and like leaning into my gifts more. And yeah.
Love that. And by the way, Karen's conscious sun is in gate 11. So that would totally make sense with the ideas.
Yep.
And I forgot, there was one more thing I wanted to say, but yeah, if it comes back, I'm sure it will. One of the things that I noticed about your chart is that, you know, you have that defined head in Ajna, of course, you have that gate 45, you're on the left angle cross of education, you have a very transpersonal destiny with that 6-3. So I do get a lot of teacher vibes from your chart.
Totally.
Education, right? So how have you seen education play a role in your life so far?
I mean, I got a master's in speech therapy, you know, and so, you know, I remember being at this therapeutic preschool. This is years ago. And we had a lot of assistants that would assist us in like group therapy sessions. And there were concepts, and I can't remember exactly what the concepts were, but various concepts or various like challenges that kids would come in, and we'd have our assistants that would ask, why this is, or what is this? And I remember standing up in front of like 5 or 6 of them and explaining it. And one of them said, I've never heard anyone explain that the way that you did. I've never been able to understand it the way that you've been able to explain it. And I have this gift of extrapolating what's important from, and then relaying that information. And I think that comes from that incarnation cross of like being able to know how to communicate with someone and tap into their interests so they understand a concept. And I think that's why I've also had like this thirst for learning more, and not necessarily learning more for me while I still benefit from it, but learning more that I can then introduce to the world and help them.
Very much a 6'3"
Yes,
thing to do,
that
right?
transfer. Yeah, for
Love
sure.
it. And I actually see that also being a part of your channel of abstraction, the 64-47 from the head to the ajna. It's all about like helping others get clarity and make sense of the confusion. Very much a teacher kind of gate, in my opinion, or teacher channel, right? There's just like so many ways I feel like you're living your design and how it's already kind of, well, obviously, but how it's already manifested in your path so far as a speech therapist, as a coach. Like you can see everything kind of shining through. But one of the other questions, especially since we're on the topic of being a 6'3" and all that experience and the ups and downs that you might have experienced, I feel like it's one of the more potentially chaotic profiles, especially when you have that. Especially when you have that, you have the gate 36. I believe. Yes, you do. The gate of crisis and the emotional center. So I can imagine that being an adventure.
It's, and I said this to you before you started recording, like my life literally is like shit hits the fan, right? Like a lot. And I remember like my mom, when I was younger, would tell me like the stuff is going to keep happening until you learn to surrender and like go with the flow. And so one of the things that I feel like is a huge theme in my life, and I find it very comical now, is things will fall apart in a way, like random stuff, like order blinds and the blinds that they send me are the wrong size. And it's like, this has never happened before. Like, it's like, that's what I often get. Like, this has never happened before, but it'll happen for me. But the other side of it is what I get out of it is way better than had it not had happened in the first place. So the example with the blind. So like, oh, well, that fits a different window. And then they're going to send me another one for the one that I need. So I got free blinds out of it, and so it's like, it's, and I remember working with my immigration lawyer, like going from Canada to the US, and we were working with getting our green cards, and something got lost in the mail. And she's like, this has never happened. Like I sent it courier, like this has never happened. But we end up jumping a bunch of processes that we needed to do. And they just automatically gave not automatically, but they gave the green card and we didn't have to do a bunch of steps. Yeah. And so she's like, you were like the luckiest person that I've ever met. And I'm like, I think that really kind of exemplifies a 6'3" profile a little bit, right? Like those things kind of fall apart, but then there really is like a lesson behind it, or it comes together at the end. And for me, it's been a lot of like surrendering and not needing to control so much. And so that has been a huge lesson in life for me. It's like kind of, again, like surrendering and like not needing to figure everything out.
Yeah, no, that's beautiful. And it's funny because I feel like I have a similar experience with that. Like I have the third line in my profile as well. And it's funny because I remember one week I was thinking like, I spent a lot of money on takeout and I'm like, I should stop spending so much money on like, ordering McDonald's. We have what's called Globo. It's almost like Uber Eats over there. But basically what ends up happening, and I swear like every single time I order McDonald's on the app, they send me they're missing a McFlurry, or like, they
Yep.
send me the wrong burger, and
Yep.
then I end up getting this free food plus the
Yep.
credit that they,
Yes. Yeah.
they mess up on. So I'm like, okay, well, I guess that's like abundance working in weird ways, things not working
Yeah.
out and then falling together again.
Yeah. I mean, when I travel, like my story I tell myself now, and like the belief is like when I travel, I get so much free stuff. And it's usually because something goes wrong.
Yeah.
Oh, like, your food came out and was cold. Okay, well, we're gonna send you something new, but here, choose like a drink, like a $20 drink off the menu for free. Like it's like these things. And it's just comical now where I'm like, okay, all right. And it could also be, like I said, I do have Jupiter in my North Node in my, natal chart. And so that could also explain like some of this, like the free stuff that I get as well. But I don't know. I think that more of like the 6-3 is and the channel crisis is like at play.
Yeah.
With all of it.
It makes you resilient. Like you're
Yes.
someone that has gone through a lot, and it's almost like, when something happens to a 6-3 with the gate of crisis, you're kind of just like, like been there,
Yeah.
done that.
Yep.
Know what to do next. Like
Totally. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And so another thing I noticed about your chart, you're a triple split. And I think we were talking about it earlier, but and I remember you asking me one time, like around processing information.
Yes. Yeah.
Do you feel like you're someone that takes time to process information? Because when you look at Karen's chart, she has her defined head in Ajna, and then she has the channel of surrender. So the spleen connected to the heart center. And then lastly, you have your sacral connected to your solar plexus and solar plexus to the throat. So again, triple split, lots going on there, lots of definition. And tell me about that.
I will say understanding that triple split was something that took me a while to really grasp, because I did not necessarily resonate with the processing piece. I'm quick at processing. I feel like sometimes I like scan things like a hawk and I know exactly where to go, or like I will, people will say things to me and I got it. And so someone had said that, how do you, when there's a big fight, how do you handle when there's like a big fight? And I'm like, oh, when my husband and I argue, I feel like I get over it pretty quickly. But then I realized how I feel like the split shows up for me is when I'm in an argument with, like if a friendship fizzles, I have a really hard time kind of like letting that go, and I'll play it over in my head, or it's almost like I sometimes feel like I need that friendship for some other reason, even though that friendship may not be serving me, even though that person I might be conflicting with that person, or it might be a toxic relationship. It's like, it's really hard for me to like, all right, walk away. Like how like a single definition would be like, okay, done. Like we're moving away. Like, I have a really hard time with that. And I think that's how the triple split shows up for me. And I think also possibly like, okay, making big decisions. Yes. Like I hate planning travel. I hate it. And to the point of like all the different decisions, like this flight, and then, okay, this Uber. All right, well, if we're going to a wedding, do we want to stay here close to like the plate, and then I will like shut down. And I don't know if that literally I'll close my laptop and walk away. I can't do this. And so I don't know if that's also the triple split, where it's just like, it's just too much for me to take in. And so I have to like almost like piecemeal it, take it in like little pieces of like, let's figure this part out, then we'll figure this part out. Other than like processing, like my husband, I'm good with that.
Yeah. And I wonder if that also has to do with your undefined root, right? Feeling that kind of pressure from outside of like, oh, I need to get this all done. I need to figure all my stuff out. And that can get like overwhelming.
Yeah. And knowing even my undefined, when I found out about the undefined root and then the pressure, again, was this huge thing of like, do I feel the need to do work right now and work on this because it's like a work day and work hours and like my husband's in a meeting, and do I feel that? And so it's given me the opportunity to check in with myself. Like, okay, I've been working for a couple of hours. Do I feel lit up by this work? Do I want to continue with this work, or do I want to go for a walk and come back from it? And so it brought a lot of awareness of even my work style. Because I can be very much of like, I'm in it to win it type of personality.
Yeah.
And so I need to like, sometimes just like step back. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I can totally see that. Um, and so I guess now I really wanted to kind of segue into talking about fears, talking about the
Yes.
fear gates. I know this is like your zone of genius here as well. And so for anyone that's kind of listening in and you're not really familiar with the fear gates are basically the gates in the splenic center, specifically that we're speaking about, right? And each of the gates in the splenic center relate to our survival awareness and are also tied to a specific survival fear. And if you're not sure what those fears are, go ahead, go Google it, go pause this video and yeah, go look it up. But I wanted to kind of look at it more from a practical lens. And I'd
Yes. Yeah.
love if you could like give us your 411, your analysis of
Yeah.
the fear gates that you have activated in your chart and just
Mhm.
like some examples of how you've seen these manifested in your
Yeah.
life.
Yeah, I wrote some notes on it here, like the which one was it that I wanted to talk about? So the okay, well, gate 44, the fear of the past. I see that come up a lot. And well, when let me talk about my chart and then I'll talk about how like I do this with my clients too. So with the fear of the past, for me, my gate 44 is in Mercury.
Mhm.
And no, not Mercury, sorry. Yeah, it's in Mercury.
Venus, is it?
No, that was it's Mercury, isn't it?
Okay. Oh, 40,
44. Like
Venus.
while I'm here to, oh, it is in Venus. Okay.
Yeah.
So I always get Venus and Mercury mixed
I
up in the
know.
symbols.
One's like the devil and one is, that's how
Yes.
I,
Yeah. I don't know. I thought
Venus with
okay.
ears is what I call.
That's funny. Well, like gate 44, fear of the past. And for me, there's a lot of generational trauma. And I feel like a lot of everyone can kind of speak to that, but there's a lot of like fear of like not being supported and like not, and I've done a lot of like transgressional healing around that with energy workers. But for me specifically, this feeling of not being supported has been in my family lifeline for a while. And for me, I think it got wired into my DNA when my mom was pregnant with me. That was like what came through when I did like some healing on it.
Mhm.
And I personally I feel this immense responsibility to end it, to end that trauma and that belief, and then where it doesn't get passed on. And so it's like this fear of like this past coming, and it comes up a lot. Like it'll come up where like, whew, like where I feel like I can't move forward because I'm afraid of like, well, this is what happened when I was a child, when I did this. And so in essence, what I loved about the fear gates is it brings awareness to a limiting belief you might have. And that's exactly how I look at it. So I do it with my own chart and I'll do it with other people's charts where if they have a limiting belief, and I specifically have a program for this, but like if they have a limiting belief, I kind of run that through their funnel of their human design, like as the filter. I'm like, is there a fear in their in their spleen, or any gate that kind of can explain this? And if there's a fear that they see that they have defined gates in their spleen, is there a gate that explains this? Where does this gate present itself in the chart? And I've had where it's like for some it's presented in like their unconscious earth sign, or it's presented in Pluto, or or I've seen it presented in Pluto and like where it's in 2 or 3 places. And I'm like, oh, that's a really big fear. Let's work through that. Let's how we work through this. And it helps them see, kind of like I did for my own self, the pattern of where has it shown up in the past and how can we like transmute it so then we're able to kind of move forward without carrying this fear. The gate 57, my gate 57 is in my Pluto, conscious and unconscious in my Pluto.
Sorry,
And
do you mind if I just pause you
yeah,
there for 1 second? So I guess I'm just gonna share with our viewers what each of the gates fears are.
oh yeah,
So just to kind of give you an idea, so you know what we're talking about. Gate 48 is the gate of depth, and it's tied to the fear of inadequacy. We have gate 57, which is the gate of intuition, and it's tied to the fear of the future. This is what Karen's just about to dive into. The one that she was just talking about was gate 44. It's the gate of alertness, and it's tied to the fear of repeating past mistakes, fear of the past. We have gate 50, which is the gate of values. This is all about the fear of responsibility. Gate 32, which is the gate of, the gate of duration, and it's the fear of failure. And then we have gate 28, the gate of the game player, which is tied to fear of death or fear of the fact that life might not have meaning and purpose. You go out there and take risks to find meaning and purpose. And then lastly, we have the gate of correction, which is tied to fear of authority or fear of being imperfect and then being criticized for that imperfection, right? So yeah, I'm going to let you take it away again.
Oh, yeah. Well, I was supposed to say the gate of 57 is in my conscious and unconscious. And that's something else I like to do when I look at someone's gate is it in unconscious and unconscious? Is it like, where is it like showing up in their chart? And ironically enough, when I did this, I created this like program, this 90-minute coaching session where we take your limiting belief and we run it through your human design chart. And I did it for free for a few people because I wanted to see, does this make sense? Is this something I want to kind of go ahead and go with? And the women who responded to it, all of them had fear gates, and all of them had it populating in really important parts in their, not important parts, but big parts in their chart, which I thought it was so interesting. I'm like, oh my gosh, this person also has this gate. And I thought like the people who wanted to seek out my support were the ones that had it show up really big in their chart. So yeah, gate 57 is the gate of, intuitive clarity, and it's in my Pluto. And so Pluto is all about kind of what you're here to transform. And I've had a really hard time trusting myself and trusting my intuition growing up, yet I've always had this, cognitive, like this knowing, and I've had other other gifts as well that I just, as a child, that would come in and just like a knowing or like premonitions, just different things. And because gate 57 is also known as the psychic channel as well, or psychic gate. And so I had like a lot of these things happen, and it was just like, oh, that's interesting. That's interesting that happened. That's kind of weird that happened. That's like strange, whatever. But I never went with it and decided to like dive a little bit deeper into that. At the same time, I still wasn't trusting that my decision was the right decision. That, even though I had a feeling to stay away from something, I may not stay away because I see other people going for it. So I'm going to do it too, And so it's this whole journey, especially right now where I am in my life, it's really honoring myself and really strengthening this intuition and trusting it. And I have so much evidence now behind me to show that how when I follow my intuition, I'm led in the right direction. So I feel like this gate is like a big part of like this transformation I'm going through. Even from like moving away from speech therapy a little bit and going more into like coaching, it's been able to trust that this is where I'm being led. Which again, as someone who grew up as like, we're going to be here and this is what's going to happen next. I had a lot of, I liked a lot of predictability in my life. It's again, surrendering and recognizing, leaning into myself and trusting myself more. And I see that through with that gate.
Yeah, I feel like that it's exactly what you said. The biggest challenge for the gate 57 is trusting yourself, trusting that intuition.
Yeah.
And would you say that like the way that you started to trust it was just taking, slowly starting to listen to it over time and just kind of building that trust within yourself and seeing that things are going to work out okay? Or
I think I had someone had to point it out to me, which, that makes sense that it's also in my unconscious. Like I knew I had some of these gifts. But it was just like one of those things like, well, isn't it funny? This happened. It wasn't, but I had someone like several, it was one particular year where there were 3 different energy workers who did not know each other. And in different times during that year, point out to me what my gifts are, like this gift that I have. And that I was here to be a healer. One person specifically, actually two people said that you were here to be a healer. And that's when I'm like, maybe I should really lean more into these gifts a little bit. And like, how do I use it? How, like, what does it mean? Or, and it's still something I'm learning. Like, one of the ways that messages get passed to me is a memory that will come to me, but it's a memory that repeats itself over and over and over again, to the point where it's like, yep, I know. Yes, it happened. Yes. But it's a message within that memory that
Yeah.
I either have to listen to for myself, or I have to pass on to someone else for them. It's just, it's so strange how it works.
Yeah.
But it's allowing me to like trust that. And I'm still working on that as well.
Yeah. And I mean, it's in your Pluto is in your gate 57. So it's that lifetime of like discovering what intuition and intuitive clarity means for you, and that truth and transformation, like you were saying. But yeah, no, I love that. And then you also have the gate 28. Yeah.
The gameplay. Yeah. Fear of upsetting others, like fear of living a purposeless life, and this fear of like upsetting. That was huge, like this fear of or needing to be like a people pleaser because I don't want to disappoint others. And what if my life doesn't have any meaning? Like what is my purpose? And so that, I think, intertwines with everything else. And that is in my Mars, I believe. That's a note that I wrote to myself there. And so that, usually Mars is also kind of where you're wounded, like a lot of your shadow work and where your wounds lie. And so there's been a lot of work that I've had to do with myself of, it's okay if I disappoint people. It's okay if by me saying yes to myself, it means I'm saying no to you, and that is okay. And that was really hard, still can be hard. But it's this, so again, awareness of it, of like, why do I do, this is like, and as someone who has a degree in psychology, something I love is like, why do I do what I do? Why do I think this way? Why do I have this belief? And I love how human design can shed some light as to why, and brings a way, like an easy, less resistant way to talk about things that might be challenging to talk about otherwise. But like, I feel like human design makes it kind of fun. And then like you open up an opportunity to talk about something that otherwise wouldn't have had a chance to talk about or recognize and move through.
Yeah. Oof. And I can kind of, I don't know, I feel like, was your decision to move to the US and like study in the US, was that part of your search for meaning and purpose and, doing things that you don't regret?
It was, no, in fact, so, I mean, as you know, in Canada, like there's like a handful of major universities in Canada, right? And so speech therapy just happened to be a program that was only offered at like 6 English speaking, I think, and maybe 2 French programs. And so the competition to get into a speech therapy program was fierce. And so a lot of Canadians end up going to the US, going to a school, getting the degree and coming back because there was a reciprocal certification. So that was my whole plan. Okay, I'll go to Illinois, I'll go to this college that someone else from Newfoundland went that I know about, and I'll get my degree and then I'll come back and I'll live here, and this is a life that I'll have. And again, just all planned out. And that is not what happened. And it happened, I went to college at around when 9/11 happened. And so there was a lot of like unpredictability and a lot of shifts and change, and even how I was going to not even complete my training, but you, as a speech therapist, you have to go through this fellowship where you have to be supervised. And so like, how was I going to go back to Canada? It was just a lot of like static and like resistance and me moving back to Canada. So then I just stayed, which I was only going to stay for 1 year and then move back. And that was like 20 years ago. So, I met my husband here, but like, it was never like this, I'm going to seek myself. It was, again, me fulfilling a path that I thought I was going to be on, that I had in my mind since I was a teenager. And now it's like, I wanted to go on, like, I wanted to kind of like break away a bit from it and like dive more into the coaching business
Mhm.
and developing more of my skill set that way. And that is like fulfilling me and lighting me up unlike anything else I've ever experienced. So, and I think that's all part of like this, even the gate 28, right? Like just having that purpose and like finding where that purpose is. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. And when it comes to your business, like I know you kind of touched on it a bit earlier, but we were speaking about your program, like this is your specialty, like helping other women get over these fears. Like they want to
Yeah.
take these risks.
Mhm.
It's amazing that you're helping coach other people take the right risks that will give
Mhm.
them that meaning and purpose as well. So I'd love to hear a little bit more about like what you do and
Yeah.
how you use human design to coach people through, these limiting beliefs and these fears that they
Mhm.
might have.
Yeah. I mean, I have several things that I do in addition to like my one-on-one readings. I have like a one-on-one 8-week coaching program that where we start off with a big deep dive into your human design. And like I coach you using human design, but not only human design, because it's just a tool. And I've used it's like it's a tool book, not a rule book, right? It's like take what resonates. Let's like pick it, cherry pick and stuff, but it's not the only thing that I do. And so and then I also have a 5-week group coaching that I'm actually going to be launching next month called Vibrant You. And it's 5 weeks of like a self-paced course plus group coaching. And the first 2 weeks are all on human design. And so the whole idea and the goal behind that is I want you to be so empowered by you, by who you are, and like that. Then when we move into lasting through limiting beliefs, when we go through inner child healing, when we go through embodiment practices, it's going to feel a little bit more easier for you because you've eased up the resistance by essentially just understanding yourself more, right? And so, and the other thing that I did, I've been referencing a lot is they're called Activate Intensives, and it's 90 minutes. And this is where we work through a limiting belief using your human design. And I have like this Google Doc where you fill out, and one of it's like, what is a limiting belief that's holding you back? And so when they send me the Google Doc, I look at it and I literally start mapping out things on the chart. And like, let's pull this out. Let's pull this out. Oh my gosh, wow. This gate is in like their conscious earth sign, and it's in like, this other thing. This is huge. And I get so lit up. I mean, I'm already lit up talking about it because it's like you're a scientist putting the pieces together,
Yes.
and all of a sudden you're like, oh my gosh, I have the solution, you know? And so it taps into like this, like how my brain works and how I just love like resolutions of stuff and how like, giving answers to things. And I've done these coaching calls where it's like one in particular where it's like, okay, you have gate 44 that is also in your unconscious earth sign, and gate 44 is all about fears of the past. Does that resonate with you? Can you think of like where that could show up? And then it's like it's like this. And I this particular call was with a coach, and it's actually a clip of it's on my Instagram page, where she's a coach who felt like she couldn't, she felt stuck and like really going out on her own as a coach. And while she was able to like get her own clients, she still was like receiving clients through a contract agency.
Mhm.
And I was like, well, I don't understand why you feel like you can't go out on your own when you already have proof that you can get them on your own. And
Mhm.
so we went through the fear of the past that showed up a lot in her chart. And I had asked her, like, is there anything in your past? And she's like, well, I was in a cult, right? And I'm like, no, I did not know you were in a cult.
Wow.
And what we were able to connect through was this agency that was sending her clients, her pay, how much she got paid for that session was based on what that client felt about her coaching session. And when she would leave a review, the client had to use specific words, like excellent would give like a higher rating, good would give like a lower grade rating. And that rating would be based on how much money she got for the session.
Oh, wow.
Like, wow. Well, can we see a connection between being rewarded for performing at a certain level you need to perform at and not being rewarded if you're not performed the way of according to expectations. Can we see a pattern between that and being in a cult where you are rewarded for doing the things that they want you to do, and if you're not doing the things that you want you to do, there's consequences? Can we see a pattern between that? She's like, oh my, yes. I'm like, okay. So we were able to move through it, but I don't know if that would have come up if we didn't talk about it, because she's like, I thought I actually worked around this and healed a lot of it. And I'm like, well, maybe we need to like work with a trauma informed coach around this. Maybe we need to like dive a little bit deeper into the subconscious mind about this. Because there's still something there. And I feel like that's a big block that's holding you back. So it was just like a 90-minute session. It wasn't anything where we went further, but it allowed her to see that this was like a pattern of her past that was most likely preventing her from moving forward. And that's how these 90-minute coaching sessions go, where it's like, let's dive into it. And I find it fascinating. Like I'm sure you do too, Crystal. Like I get so lit up when I'm able to see, oh, that makes sense in this chart. I can see that,
Yeah.
Like the stuff does work, like
it's so true. It's like a cheat sheet, right? Like instead of spending that 90 minutes just trying to identify what that thing is, it's like you already have a starting point. It's like, for example, whatever your fear gates, just looking at the fear gates specifically, that will give you a conversation piece as opposed to like, I'm not a therapist, so I wouldn't even know where to start anyways. But I mean, you have a more focused lens to look through, right?
Totally. Yeah. Yeah. I remember doing a reading with someone, and this is where it came to me, this idea of like looking at these fear gates, where she stuttered as a child and she didn't think she was a good communicator, but she had a lot in her chart that showed that she was a good communicator, and that people would say, and it was in her unconscious, and people would say, can you talk about this for us? Because you do such a great job at explaining. And I'm like, well, why does she think that she's not? And so then I was able to look at her chart and be like, oh, and I was about to bring it up for this interview because I wanted to read it out, but there were elements in her chart that explained it through my interpretation, that she had to go through, like going through and recognizing that she, like healing from the stuttering piece and like this belief that she wasn't a good speaker was a big part in her chart that she had to go through to heal in order to accept that she actually is. And she went ahead and started a podcast and afterwards and like really using her voice. But when I looked at that and I was able to like see like these big moving pieces, I'm like, I want to do that for other people. Like what can I do? And that's where like Activate Intensive was born out of.
Ugh, that's incredible. That's amazing. And so I'm going to leave everyone with Karen's contact information, with how you can work with her, how you can learn more, because this sounds amazing. And yeah, I'll leave that all in the description for you down below. And I guess to wrap things up for today, I was hoping you could share your favorite quote or mantra if you have one.
My favorite quote is by Ra Uru. And did I write it down? Because I want to make sure I get it right. Deeply understand what it is that you are, so you are deeply aware of what you are not. And I'm obsessed with it. And I feel like if there is, I don't think there's any other quote that could better summarize human design and my personal, and why I resonate with it, the awareness that you get from it. So then you can work on that deconditioning and that deprogramming. So then you're not the beliefs that you heard, right? Like you are something else. And let's work on that separate entity to understand that.
Yeah, it gives us the power to create our own narrative around who we are, who we're not, and well, let go of who we're not, right? And that takes away a lot of resistance that we sometimes put ourselves through.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, absolutely. And even I think you said one time where like usually in a defined center, if you haven't learned lessons over repeated lifetimes, and there's more gates that get activated in that center. And so there's a huge theme in your life within that center. And so I think that's like bringing in, and I'm such a nerd when it comes to all the esoteric world and energy work and everything, but I love how that speaks to also how karma works and karmic debt and generational trauma and all that stuff can be explained through the design as well.
Oh yeah. And usually like people tend to resonate with, if you point out like and this was something that Ra actually said, that if you have a lot of activations in that undefined center, then there's like something here that you're
Yeah.
needing to learn, that you're needing
Yeah.
to like let go of and be wise
Yeah.
about. Right.
Yeah.
And it totally resonates, at least like with me. I would say like I have not a lot of activations, but especially in the G center, like
Mm-hmm.
around my identity, that's really
Mm-hmm.
an area that I've been trying to work with. And it's funny that, when I was asking you about how you label yourself, or,
Yeah.
what your title is. And I feel like every person that I ask that has an undefined G center struggles a lot with that question.
Oh,
Not to say that, those with defined don't, but
yeah.
we tend to struggle a lot more with that because there's no one label that can
Yeah. Yeah.
describe your essence,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. Before we end, I want to tell you something really funny, because the irony and like talking about the fear gates. I don't know if you remember this, but I remember months ago, I don't know, maybe a year ago now. It was a year ago, actually. I was working with a coach who had some little bit of training in human design. And she's like, Karen, what are your fear gates? I'd like to know. And I'm like, what are fear gates? And I remember like messaging you, and I'm like, Crystal, did we ever learn about fair gaze? And you're like, yes, Karen, it's in module 15, blah, blah, blah. And when I looked at it, I completely skipped over it
That's
because
so
I
funny.
wanted to like get to a point where I could start doing readings. And I'm
Mhm.
like, well, isn't that true manifesting generator energy to just jump right through? And so not only did like skip right over it, like I now like came back to it, and now it's a big part of what I do. I think like the
Yes.
irony behind all that is so funny.
I feel like it was the universe like poking your
Yeah,
coach,
like, yep.
making her comment, like, tell her
Hello.
about this. That's funny.
Yeah, yeah.
Awesome. Well, it was amazing having you, Karen. Oh, I love listening to your insights, and I love the energy that you bring, obviously.
Thank you.
Yeah. So again, is there anything that you would like to share with us before we head off?
I mean, other than like, I just want everyone to know watching this, like, you are so freaking powerful, and I don't think you realize your power. And I'm getting emotional thinking about it. Like, I want everyone to like tap into this power that they have, because there's so much conditioning in this world, and you have to understand who your power is to be able to be resilient to that. And I want everyone to like recognize, and I have goosebumps and everything. So that's it. If you want to like connect with me, I'm on Instagram. And I'm actually have a podcast coming out soon. It's going to be called Your Life by Design, and it's not all going to be about human design, ironically enough, because I'm a manifesting generator. I need to be like a little bit of everything, but you'll hear more about that soon too.
Amazing. Oh, thank you so much, Karen. We all needed that, and you are amazing. Oh,
Thank
everyone
you.
give Karen a follow.
Oh,
Go
thank
check
you.
out her work. She's very gifted, very talented, and just such an incredible space holder as well. So again, yeah, thank you everyone for listening in today.